Hello students, a very good morning to all the students. So students, today we are going to start with a new topic, that is some other useful fibers. So students, we are going to understand about different useful fibers. The first one is wool. So wool is obtained from the fleece of sheep or goat. So students, we all know that we get wool from sheep or goat, but you have to keep in mind about the fleece of sheep. That means we can obtain the wool from the woolly outer covering of the sheep or a goat. So students, the removing the fleece from the sheep is called shearing. That means removing the outer or the woolly covering from the sheep is known as shearing. After shearing, that means after removing the woolly covering, the wool is cleaned and then combed by a machine. So, after removing the fleece from the sheep, it is then cleaned and then they are combed with the help of a machine. Thereafter, the wool is spun into fibers that are then knitted to make woolen clothes either by hand or by machines. So, students, after being cleaned and combed, the wool is then spun into fibers, okay? And then what happens? They are knitted to make different woolen clothes either by the hand or by the machine. So now moving on to the second one, that is silk. So students, silk was first developed in China. That means it was the first country to develop silk. Okay, China was the first country to develop silk for the first time. It is obtained from the cocoon of the silkworm. So students, this is a cocoon, this one is a cocoon, and the silk is obtained from the cocoon of the silkworm, okay. Each silkworm spin a thread up to 800 meter long to make a cocoon. So students, each silkworm will spin a thread. That means this inside a cocoon there is a worm, and that worm will spin a thread up to 800 meter long, okay, in order to make the cocoon. The cocoon is boiled in water to kill the worm. So students, inside the cocoon there is a larvae or a worm, and in order to kill that worm, it is then boiled in hot water, okay. It is then unwound to get the silk fibers. So after killing the worm inside the cocoon, it is then unwound in order to get the silk fiber, okay. The rearing of silkworm for the production of silk is called sericulture. So students, the process of rearing of silkworm for the production of silk is known as sericulture. So I hope it is clear to you till here. Now your classwork is to complete these two and submit it in the group. Now moving on to the next and the last topic, that is history of clothing material. So now we are going to understand about the history of our clothing materials, okay. The early humans did not know much about clothes. So students, we all know that the earlier people, that means early men, they didn't know about the clothes. They used the bark of trees and large leaves to cover themselves. So here in the image you can see, here a leaf is used and bark of different tree has been used in order to cover themselves. Later they started using animal skin for clothing. So students, slowly after using the different part of the leaves, they start using the animal skin in order to cover themselves. They wore animal skins and wrapped fur around their body to keep themselves warm during winter. So students, we all know that during winter we all feel cold. So the early people also use different animal skin as well as the fur in order to keep themselves warm during winter. So when people began to settle in agriculture communities, they learned to weave twigs and grass into mats and baskets. So students, as soon as people began to settle in different agriculture communities, they learned how to weave the twigs and also to make different mats and baskets from the grass. Later, humans developed the technique for spinning and weaving cloth from fluffy substance of the cotton plant. So students, later the human developed different technique for spinning and also weaving cloth from the fluffy substance of the cotton plant. Okay. The clothing was invented thousands of years ago. So students, the clothes were invented about thousands of years ago. Okay. In ancient Egypt, cotton and flax plant were cultivated near the river Nile and used for making fabric. So students, in ancient Egypt, the cotton and the flax plant were cultivated near the Nile river. Okay. And they are used for making different fabrics. In India, the use of cotton spread around 3000 BCE, that means before Christ era. So students, in India, the use of cotton spread about 3000 before Christ era. In China, silkworm were domesticated to produce silk fibers. So students, we all know the meaning of domesticated. Okay, in China, the silkworm were domesticated. That means they were kept at home and then they are used for making silk fibers. Okay. The domestication of silkworm in China start around 3000 BCE. So the start of domestication of silkworm also started around 3000 BCE in China. Okay students. The fibers were then spun into thread that were woven to make the silk clothes. So students, the fibers were then spun into different threads and then they were woven to make different silk cloth. Earlier stitching were not known. We all know that. Earlier people, they do not know how to stitch clothes. Women used to wear sari and men used to wear dhoti. So students, men used to wear dhoti and the women used to wear this sari. These clothes were not stitched. The dhotis and saris were not stitched. They were just wrapped around their body. So students, as the early people doesn't know how to stitch the cloth, they just use the sari and the dhoti in order to wrap around their body. Even today, sari and dhoti as well as lungi are used as unstitched clothes. So we all know that sari, dhoti and lungi are used as unstitched clothes. Okay. With the invention of the sewing needle, people started stitching fabrics to make clothes. So students, after inventing the different sewing needle, the people then finally start stitching fabrics to make different clothes. So today, various stitched clothes such as jeans, sweat, shirts and trousers are very popular. So students, nowadays these shirts and different trousers are so popular and they are stitched clothes. Okay. At present, there is a large variety of fabrics to choose from. So, in the present time, there is a large or great variety of fabrics to which we can choose and then we can use it in our own way. Okay, students. So, I hope it is clear to you. If you have any kind of doubt, you can ask me. And with this, we complete our chapter 3. Now we will proceed toward the exercise. Okay.